Family owned and operated in Delta, home to the Four Winds Light Lager, a crisp, clean, and easy drinking beer. A beer for everyone, a perfect beer for before, after, or during the game. Ask for Four Winds Light Lager at your local liquor store or have some delivered to your front door right through the online shop at fourwindsbrewing.ca. Okay, we'll get him in. Wyatt, did you see my Griddy? Oh, I forgot we have an intro song. I think Griddy did.
Intro first.
All right. Same question. Why did you see my Griddy?
I didn't see it yet. I was still upset that you incorrectly told me how to spell it correctly. Is that the Griddy? And we had a bit of a fight, a little snafu between us. But I had to keep you up to date on what's popular right now. It's nothing unusual for me. So
yeah,
I'll check out your Griddy later.
Yeah, that was a Riz moment by me, for sure. Yeah, you got
I wanted to jump in real quick. Fun question for you because you're a very serious journalist.
100%.
Wyatt, can you give me a ranking, top 3, which Canucks would you think would be most offended by Walman having done the Griddy the first time these teams met?
Like, the main one for me, it's going to be Thatcher Demko, and here's why. We saw yesterday at the game, like, when someone asked him about shooting the puck for the empty net, and he kind of, like, you can see him actually happy, and normally in scrums, he's gotten very serious with the media now. He doesn't like us too much, but he's kind of happy to talk about it. Then someone asked him, would you have done the Griddy? And his face just shut down, and he's like, no. And he got very, very sad about it, didn't want to talk about it. But that guy's got a history of dancing. Like, he's got vines. When he first started coming up with the team, he was dancing. He was known for doing little dances and shuffles. So I think he's just mad that he can't dance. Like, he wants to be able to do that, but he knows he's a serious professional now. He can't do it. So I think he's angry at Walman that he would do the dance when he can't dance himself because it's bursting to get out. So Demko's my number 1 guy. Clearly, JT Miller's number 2 because he hates everything. That guy's not going to be happy with that. And then the third one, I just think it's Zadorov because Zadorov's just a guy who's going to beat up the other guys no matter what. Anything that besmirches his team, he's going to be upset about.
What do you think of Zadorov's Griddy? It wasn't a Griddy. As somebody who's been watching Griddy tutorials all day, it wasn't a Griddy. What did you think of him mocking Walman's dance moves?
He got the point across. I think if he does the full Griddy, then he would be kind of, compared to Walman. I don't think he's practiced it. I think it was off the cuff. But it was enough to get him become more of a fan favorite here. I think this is a guy that, plays physical, stands up for his teammates. And how often do people, again, I talked about it in the Stanchions, we often talk about storylines we'd love to see happen on the ice. Like, it would be crazy if this happened. And it was like, wouldn't it be crazy if the Canucks danced back at them? And it actually happened. And Zadorov did that. That little shuffle was all it took. And that, that's a fun storyline, honestly. Like, we're all having fun about it. We're all laughing. Leafs fans are yelling at me for comparing it to the Riley situation. I'm in fights all day about it. The team matters right now, which is a lot of fun. So there's why these dance movements from Zadorov. Like, he gets over with the crowd. People are loving it. Like, you couldn't have written a better script, to be honest.
How excited were you to see Toyota come on as a presenting sponsor of Canucks Conversation? They clearly are buying into the Corolla Garland movement.
They get it, right? They understand that, they're the most reliable car in the market. Garland's the most reliable third line center in the market or winger in the market. Like, it's the perfect partnership. And again, I would expect nothing less from Toyota because they get it. They get it.
What did you think of the third line last night? Ilya Mikheyev gets into that spot. Harmon and I were talking about it off air a bit. Didn't seem like Ilya Mikheyev really sees that opportunity just yet.
I'm not the biggest Mikheyev fan. Like, I've been pretty down on him. Like, even when Kuzmenko was here, I was like, Kuzmenko's kind of overshadowing Mikheyev's kind of play. And fair enough, he's had the knee injury. He's got to come back from the ACL injury. So maybe next season will be more of a better indicator of where he's at. But he's not getting any younger. Defensively, he can be solid on the PK. I think he has skills. But just what we expect from that third line, like, they were perfectly fine. But that third line's been elite for this team. So Mikheyev dragged them down to being just perfectly fine. And they can get away with that for a bit, but one of the benefits of this team being so good is because of that elite third line. And I don't know, again, it's just one game. Maybe Mikheyev will, take some time to get the chemistry, but it just felt like, there was a noticeable difference between Dakota. And that speaks to Dakota, how well he's been playing, like charging to the net, being that physical presence. Like, it's unfair to ask Mikheyev to replace that in a sense, but if you're asking like how I thought he did, I just thought it was, perfectly okay, which is not, great.
Seems to sum up Mikheyev pretty perfectly. Just perfectly okay. He's fine. Like a little more.
Offense goes to die when the puck hits his stick.
His shot is just awful. It's muffins. It's worse than Wellwood's shot, which I never thought I'd say about an NHL player. It's just, he's like an appetizer you try to party where you're like, yeah, it was okay, I guess. Like, that's kind of the response you always have to his play, where like, he's not blatantly ruining anything for your team you're watching, but he's just, there's no creativity. There's no, the puck gets on his stick. You're just hoping he dumps in the corner efficiently. Like, that's the highlight of his shift from him. And, that's not too exciting to watch.
I wanted to get your take on the All-Swedes line. Lindholm gets a pair. Do you think the Canucks have really found something with that line combination?
With Lindholm, we've kind of seen a couple of good games, a couple of bad games, and again, it's only been the 4 games, but that's kind of the thing with Vancouver. There's always like anytime there's Swedish players, we just assume that they'll automatically be fantastic together. Like even the Sedins, there's always like, oh, this is a Swedish player, they'll be fantastic with them. So it's kind of what happens. But I do think there is some chemistry there. I think Lindholm's game really can benefit Pettersson, and you add in Höglander and just his style of play seems to be almost like the Alex Burrows style of getting in there in the corners, but he's also smart enough to do something with it. He might not facilitate as much as Burrows did, but he's got more of a finish than Burrows did. So it seems like he's just able to produce 5-on-5, which is something that line would greatly benefit from. And again, early days, but watching that line, it was good to see them kind of come through, and even seeing the JT Miller line come through, because I joked about it last night. It's fun that when Dakota goes out, the top 6 lines have to come together to make up for that, which has kind of been the truth for the last little while. Like the 5-on-5 production hasn't really been there. So obviously, just Detroit, they're a bigger test ahead, but I think for me, I would definitely want to see that Swedish line continue forward.
All right, Noah Juulsen, what did you think of his game last night? The Noah Juulsen stock is rising, Stanch.
You know what? That's the thing. Like, it's not like I joke around with you, but I've been on board with this kid for a while now, because I initially was like, when I'm harsh on players, like I think in this market I've learned, like early on in my days, I would make jokes that maybe bordered on personal. And I was like, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that person that kind of like attacks too much. Like that's offside. So I've kind of really kept it on ice. But even for me, I kind of went hard on him in early the season on ice stuff. Like, this guy doesn't belong in the NHL. He's terrible. What's he doing here? And it was really a strong opinion, because I really thought he was playing terribly. But like, he has made me look like a right stupid idiot on this one. Like, I'll own it. Like, I'm a dum-dum. I didn't give enough chance. I'm stupid. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. You are making me look like a complete jerk, because he's been playing fantastic. And there's a lot of kind of comments of Tan of Light. And that's a name you don't use lightly, but he has been playing that way, that very calm, smart game where he's getting in the shooting lanes. He's interrupting passing lanes. He's making those small passes. He's taking hits to make the play to get his teammate open, which is like a Tan of specialty, right? So for me, watching Juulsen, like, is even the control in his game like that. The perfect example was that game where Chicago, where Rodick does the slip and slide, they score, but Juulsen stays on his feet. And he's really good at going down to one knee to block shooting lanes and get right back up into the play. Because I think one of the things for me is watching Ryan Johnson back in the day, he was the shot block specialist. Oh, Ryan Johnson, no block shots like he does. Canucks get him. This is perfect. You see him try and block a shot, he slides all the way out of the zone. I'm like, what the F? What? How is that effective? It wasn't effective. Like, it looks splashy, but it's not effective. Like, when it works, cool. When it doesn't, you're putting your team down. So full credit to Juulsen. Like, this kid's looking better and better.
I wanted to ask, when you look back at the game last night, do you think how much of the game's result simply comes down to goaltending? Because it felt like Lindholm's first goal, for example, the Zadorov shot from the point, were ones that line would want to have back, whereas Demko was phenomenal, makes a couple of gorgeous backdoor saves that Rick Tocchet pointed out after the game would normally be tap-ins. How much of the 4-1 scoreline ultimately just came down to Canucks have Thatcher Demko and the Detroit Red Wings did not?
Well, I mean, it's kind of funny. We talk about how this team just took this giant leap forward out of nowhere. And last season, Demko was not, the guy we thought he was, because he was injuries, whatever it was. That was not the Demko we're used to. And look what happens. All of a sudden, you're like relying on platoon goalies and Martin, Delia, whoever's in there. They're not able to do. They're giving you kind of that goaltending you saw with Detroit, where like these goals would just go in. And so, yeah, now you're getting the benefit of the doubt. And that was always kind of the argument, even during the good betting years, that when Demko will play out of his mind or Markstrom will play out of his mind, people would always say, well, that's the benefit of having a top goalie. And then there would be a big argument about like how good was the team really. Well, right now you've got the team firing on all cylinders, the forwards and the defense and Demko going off, which is why the season's turning into what it is. And the large part of that is, yeah, Demko's making these saves. He's playing fantastic. He's playing like a Vezina candidate. And that allows them to have nights where maybe things aren't all firing. Because even the best teams in the league have ebbs and flows. And right now, when there's an ebb and flow, they have guys stepping up, whether it's the third line, the top 6, the defense coming through, or even Demko stepping in. Like Carson Soucy's a big player for this team. He's been out. Juulsen stepped up. Like every time there's something kind of getting in their way, someone's stepping up, and that's a testament probably to the coaching, to the team playing well. PDO goes burr, whatever you want to call it. It's all coming together at the right time right now.
Wyatt, pitchers and catchers have reported, and yes, I'm asking you about baseball. Fanatics, in partnership with Nike, has created the MLB's new jerseys, and they look awful. You've seen these?
They're a joke. They honestly look like this like a third-rate company. Like I initially started with Fanatics thing back when I ordered like an All-Star jersey. It was the '94 style one, because that's like, oh, it's my youth, my childhood. I want to get that jersey. I ordered it like months before the All-Star game. Fanatics tells me, oh, be here at the All-Star game the day of. I'm like, okay, weird. month passes the All-Star game, I email him like, oh, sorry, we're out of them now. And I was like, what? So I was on the ball, so I hated him since then. I thought it was just me. Stories come out every week now of the misprints to the point where it feels like it's a sketch from SNL. Like, it doesn't seem real. Like, some of the stuff, like the tiny logos, the name being wrong, the numbers off, like it's crazy. Now it's got to the point now where the players are getting upset. So that's the first time I thought to myself, there might be trouble here when the players are mad. Because like if a player feels off, say a pitcher comes off the mound and says his pants weren't fit right, so you couldn't get into the groove. That's a problem now. Like that will, even if it's just like superstition, that's now an issue that Canucks has to take care of. So it honestly, it's a trash company. It really is. Like I have no problem saying that.
Yeah. I was telling these guys about the joke, and I'll tell the listeners too. I once told you that we got a sponsor for the Stanchies, which I'm sure you weren't happy about to start. But then I was like, oh, don't worry, it's just Fanatics. I sent you a fake.
I always quit that day. I was about to do the Griddy and quit. I wasn't having it.
That's gonna be my new way to exit
Bad Riz.
Bad Riz.
That's bad Riz. That's the worst Riz.
Wyatt, great stuff as always, man. Thanks for joining us and enjoy your weekend. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, boys. See you next week.
Canucks Conversation is live Monday through Friday, every weekday at 2 p.m. over on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, and interact in the YouTube live chat every day with us, folks.